All right, guys, wanted to do a quick video about how to set your drag. I get the question a lot about how to set your drag properly for whatever size reel. I got it the other day about I've got 22 pounds of max drag in my reel. What pound do I set my drag to? Well, these reels don't have necessarily drag meters, and I've seen some YouTube videos out there where people are putting scales up against their workbench in their garage and setting their drag to a certain number of pounds. That's not necessarily the way I do it. I just kind of do it by feel. This is a Daiwa Saltiga LD50 2-speed, and I'm going to show you how I try to set the drag. I always have the drag way backed off when I'm storing the reel. Basically minimal drag. That way my drag compressor or my drag system isn't really compressed when it's in storage and not being used. Then on the ride out prior to rigging up the rods, I set the drag for the day. So I always tend to set my drag, my strike, at about 60 to 70% of my max drag, or just about where I like to fish for mangrove snapper. So generally, anytime you're setting a 2-speed reel, you want the reel all the way back in free spool before you mess with that drag lever. So once it's all the way back in free spool, I'm gonna tighten up the drag a few clicks, set it back to strike, and then what I do is I take my monofilament line, the top shot, not the braided line. Do not do this with braided line. Only do it with mono. Wrap it around my hand twice and then pull. And I want to be able to pull line out of that reel. Should be a little difficult. It should leave a little bit of line marks on the side of your hand, but it shouldn't be locked down in strike. Right then it was a little too easy, so I'm going to tighten it up a few more clicks. Again, moving it back into free spool before I touch that. Put it back to strike, again, wrap my line around my hand twice, pull, and that's a pretty good consistency. It's not too difficult to pull out, but it doesn't come out with a lot of ease. Basically, about 60 to 70% of max drag. And the way I know that is because I've taken this all the way up to max drag and ratcheted it all the way up, and then put it all the way on full, and then I know it's very difficult to pull out. So about 60% of that is where I want it set. 60 to 70%. Difficult to pull out, but not too difficult, because when you have it set at 60 to 70% in strike, what'll happen is when I'm fishing, that works for a majority of fish, and then if I catch a big amberjack or something, it's gonna give it plenty of drag consistency. And then if I get a really big fish, like a big gag when I'm fishing for mangroves, all I do is hit the button and slide it to max drag. And now I've gone from 60 to 70% to almost full drag with just a slide of a button and a simple maneuver forward in that drag lever. So that really is a perfect way to set these 2-speed reels. Strike about 60 to 70%, and then once you slide it to full, you'll be right there at almost 100% max drag. And that's the way I set my drag when it comes to these 2-speed reels, and it makes it a lot easier when you're out there fishing. But if I was gonna drop down a big live bait for a gag grouper or something like that, I would start already at full. I wouldn't adjust the lever again. I wouldn't adjust the knob again. I would simply just start at max drag. Whereas 90% of the time when I drop down, I'm gonna be right in strike, fishing for everything else. But if I drop a big bait, I'm gonna start right at max drag. So that way I'm already at 90, 95, 100% drag for those big gags if I'm targeting those. But if I'm dropping down a dead bait, double snell rig, fishing in that 60, 70% of drag range. And that's how you set the drag on a 2-speed reel.